No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today I'm in here with a guy from my neck of the woods. Token is on the show. How you doing?
Yeah.
So
Hey.
where exactly are you from?
Massachusetts.
Yeah, but where?
Originally from Salem, but I spent like most of my time like forming in Marblehead.
He used to live in Salem.
For real?
And I
See
went
a
to his
witch?
old apartment in Salem
You
because
kind of have a witch thing to you.
No, he's a New Hampshire guy too.
Not
but
in a bad way. Just
Damn, Salem. Salem's a hell of a place.
yeah. It was like most of my fun. Like I went to school in this small town next to a Marblehead, but I was originally from Salem, and then I just moved in with my mom in Marblehead.
You just moved in with your mom?
No.
Oh.
Like when I was young.
Okay.
Yeah. So I spent I'm originally from Salem, but like most of my friends from that chapter of my life are from Marblehead.
Interesting. And you still live out there?
Yeah, I'm about to move here, but I live in Mass. Still,
Really?
Yeah.
And you
not in the same town.
But you
like,
stayed out there for the whole duration of your career?
Yeah, I was just like, when everything was happening, I was just like a teenager still, and like I just didn't feel, I could have moved here, but I just wasn't ready. Like
Oh yeah,
back
it would eat you
then, it
alive.
was like everything was just, I wasn't ready.
We
Now
would have
I
been
feel-
selling you Percocets and introducing you to prostitutes, all kinds of fucked up shit.
Yeah. Wasn't ready for that.
Wow.
But I'm about to move here, like I'm looking for places like this trip.
You don't think it's gonna eat you alive out here?
No, maybe back then it would have. I've spent a lot of time out here, but
Right.
I just feel more like I'm just ready for this shit more. Like I was just young and like everything, like meeting people and like being around shit was just like intimidating to me. I was just like nervous and I just felt very like, I guess, lucky to be in the situation I was, but I never felt like I was thinking too much. I was on like the same, I felt like people were like on top of me when I would meet like famous people or going to meetings and shit. And now I just feel like I've grown into the spot I'm in. And like with this new chapter and everything, this new album, it's like, I don't know, it just feels like it's time and I don't feel like out of my element.
Right. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about those early days in terms of like your time spent as like a real rap fan and honing your craft before anybody started paying attention to you. Like what was your early hip hop introduction that made you want to do this?
Sorry if I'm too away from the.
No, that's good.
What really started was just like when I was young, like really young, like 6, 7, 8. I was just like a heavy kid. Like I just felt a lot of shit, and I didn't have the worst life or whatever, but I was just, the beginning of my life just like was not very happy. And writing just started making me feel better. I was just like found it early. I just had basically like a diary. I started just like writing when I was 6. And I was getting in trouble a lot and shit, and it just like made me get in trouble less and made me like not be as sad. And then and ever since I was young, my older sister, who's like 5.5 years older than me, all she listened to was hip hop. So she put me on stupid young to like my favorites back then were like Pac, M, and Luda. That was like my favorites when I was mad young. And then eventually it just found form in rap because I liked rap, and I started recording it when I was like 10. And then all my songs were like sad songs, so no one really cared. So then it was like a conscious decision, like, oh, let me prove how people just want to see this little white kid that knows how to rap. So let me just do that. And then like one thing led to another, and I just built a fan base like off of that. Was like one piece of it. And now it's like I feel like I'm more tapped into like that 6-year-old now who's just like talking about his feelings with this new album more than just like the rap shit, like proving myself. I feel like I already did that.
That's interesting because you coming from the position of like a poet or a writer originally is something that's probably pretty foreign, like compared to the average rapper that I talk to these days, where it's like normally they're like very outgoing public personalities or whatever, where they're like known around their friends or whatever, and it just kind of becomes clear that like, oh, he's the rapper out of the group. Like it starts with them being like the cool dude who should therefore rap. But it's interesting that you're coming from,
I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of people who don't like get the credit as like being poetic, but there's so many people that like they might have not been like me and like I'm consciously writing down, but like people like Future and like BK the Ruler. Like I don't know, a lot of these people that like I really look up to like their writing, and I don't know. I just feel like I'm more like I talk about it more, I guess.
Yeah, you got to like be a little bit more analytical
I
about
just
the
am
whole process.
I'm just a heavy person, bro. I just like I feel shit. Like I don't know when you might get pinched and I'm gonna feel like a punch. Like that's just how I am in life. Like even like when I was a kid, that's when I started writing. Like just the small amount of shit that I was through, it just affected me a lot. And
Wow.
and I'm lucky about it, cause like it brought me to music. But that's just how like I operate.
So how did you go about developing the fan base though? Because I've just been hearing about you for years and years. Slowly started to get a little bit more familiar. But was it like doing stuff locally, or was it internet stuff
At
originally?
first it was locally. At first I was like doing like ciphers in Boston and shit, but that didn't really like people didn't hear my name.
Tough to emerge from that.
Yeah.
That's that world hasn't
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
produced a
it's
ton of
not-
stars over the years.
For real. Yeah, but it was good experience wise, like going and just like prove myself from like local legends, like just dudes that are just like the OGs. That I'm just trying to like if I spit a freestyle that they might like, that would mean a lot to me. But no, it was really as simple as like, when I was 14, I was like releasing music when I was 10 to 14, and no one cared. The only people who knew like were my school, and they would just like clown on me because I'm just like talking about being like sad and stuff. And then I was just like, let me just show that I can rap so people take me serious. And then 14, 15, I ended up like when I was like 13 or 12 or something, I lost like a ton of weight, and that kind of showed me if you work hard towards something, like maybe it'll happen. Because I never really wanted to be. I wasn't like I want to be a rapper. I just wanted to feel better for real. But I don't know. I started trying to prove people I could rap. One thing led to another, and then I'm here. And then over like the last like, especially with this album, but like I started really developing fans who like loved me when I just started being like honest again. And now it's like, now it just feels good that I don't have the weight of like I have to prove shit anymore. I just feel like now it's just about, now I'm really being introduced to the world with like this deal and like this next level of music and shit. And I'm just happy that I finally feel like me again. I don't feel like I have to like prove shit. Shit just isn't cool to me unless it's like true anymore. Back then I had like a better, I was okay with like lying. Not lying, but like talking about rapping. Like I don't fuck with rapping about rapping anymore. Like I just want to tell my story, you know.
That's a disease that you kind of have to get past at a certain point, right? Like you rap about rapping before you have anything else to rap about, more often than not.
Yeah, not everybody, but I did, because I just had to get people's attention. But my fans, like most of them know, but whether they know or not, like they're not fans of me because I can like put together words. They're fans of me because of my perspective and like the way, like I'm a writer, and now like my like musical skills I think are like catching up to everything. But you know, people are gonna figure it out later, but they're not, you know, the ability to like catch people's attention with like what you might have heard me for the first time for is not why I'm here. Like there's a lot of people who do that, and they're not as like, they don't have a fans like me. They don't sell tickets like me. They don't sell like me.
But you think it's like the merger of the two? Because I feel like there are a lot of rappers these days. I know you have a relationship with Hobson. He's somebody that stands out to me who does this weird merger of being a super technical rapper with also being like weirdly open and just sort of exposing things about himself and his music that take the fans by surprise. The average rapper doesn't necessarily do that these days, and I feel like there's a certain audience to whom that's very, very attractive to.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm like more, I don't know, like this new album is like, I don't even know what people like. I don't, it's not like technically like, I don't know, it's not that shit. I'm like, you know, I came up in that world a little bit, and like, yeah, like Hop like took me on like some of my first touring shit, but shit's like definitely like changing for me. Like shit's like, it's just begun to evolve in like different groups. Like I've definitely lost fans like with this new shit and gained a lot of new ones, and I don't know, I just feel like confident that like what's meant to be is gonna be like.
Because when I listen to the new album as opposed to some of the older stuff, it feels like you're maybe like gaining the confidence to slow shit down, and it still feels like you're constantly sort of cycling between different flows, from like super lyrical complicated style flows all the way to like you sort of simplifying it. Like is that a conscious process of like, okay, I want to slow down a little bit? Because you know that is the whole thing about rapping really fast, is that like it's hard to tell what you're saying. It's easy to sound like you're a good rapper if you're rapping fast, and in comparison, if you're gonna be fucking Paul Wall, you better to be saying some real ass shit, and you better be saying it like you mean it if you're rapping slow, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't conscious, bro. I just grew up. Like, I was a teen doing that shit. Like, I was just, like, fresh out of high school, like just wanting to, make this my career. So anything that was working, I was like, oh, like I really don't want, like, mom to worry anymore. I gotta, like, make this shit happen. And now I'm at a stage where it's not conscious. It's just over the last 2 years, for real, about, like, you know, that's like the time I was working on the album. It's not like, no, that flow is too fast. It's just like, it's just natural. It's just natural. Like, I don't know. And shit just isn't, like I said before, it's truth is what, I know it sounds like cliche, but like, I just want to tell people like what's really going on. And sometimes maybe like I'll hear a flow and I don't know. I don't think about it like this, I used to do that. I used to be like, this group of people were like this. I used to think too much. You know, you can only get so far thinking too much. You can tell the dude to like, this song is made from the brain. No good songs are made from the brain.
That's how you feel?
Yeah. Good music is made from the heart, made from how you feel. So, and I'm late. My true self was early when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, but I went through a little detour of like getting my name out there, doing shit that, okay, that's gonna go viral there. That's gonna go, people are not gonna like that here, but this line is kind of corny, but it'll be a good talking point and it'll go crazy.
How old are you right now though?
20, I just turned 23.
Isn't that such a fucking weird feeling that there's stuff that you did when you were like 13 that the world still remembers?
Yeah,
or like
well,
some percentage of your fan base still remembers?
Yeah, especially when I was like 17 and 18.
Okay,
and
that was the part they actually remember?
Yeah, that all that shit is gone. Right. People don't. But yeah, I just for real like grew up in front of people. Like ever since I was like 17, and I was mature in some ways, but I wasn't like the most mature. And ever since I was 17, I was used to there being more comments about me than I could even read. So I think it's gonna take time for me to even like understand what that, you know, cause I look back to some of the old shit and I genuinely like thought I was being authentic, like, but sometimes I listen to songs like my sad songs where I'm like screaming in them, and I'm like, bro, like when I'm sad, I don't even scream. I feel like defeated when I'm sad. I'm a person who doesn't, when I'm sad, I go home, I don't talk to anybody. Like I don't, you know, when shit's going on. So I realize now, like that was a character being played. I didn't even know, like, you know, at this point, this is the first time in my career, not my life, but like my career, where like I hear my music and I'm like, that's me. And it even feels like different doing like interviews and shit in general. Like I know I just said this, but I know like this is gonna be the first time my friends hear the music and see the interviews and they're like, oh, that's my friend. Because before it was like, who's this kid who's like rapping about being better than rappers? I know this kid, he doesn't care about that. And I never did. I don't look at this shit like a competition.
I respect that for sure. Do you feel like how did you actually go about learning to be so good at rapping at a young age though? Like was it a very, very concerted effort to like study the art, or was it something that you just gradually got better and better at?
I think it was gradual. I don't know, like probably the music I was listening to maybe, but I always like was into like words. But I work really hard, you know, like I really care about this, like music, and it's not like lyric, like it's not being able to rap, but music has always been my life since I was 6. Like it's so deep intertwined in me. So and I work really hard. So like when I decided as a 14-year-old, I needed to prove that I can rap, I worked really hard. I recorded songs every day. So I like since I was 14, I'm 23 now. It's been a decade of recording songs every day. So I just got naturally better, I guess.
Right. And I mean, it's got to be kind of weird still staying out on the East Coast and just having this level of success and everything. Because out here, if you moved around here, it's like your level of success would generally kind of like blend in with a lot of other
Right.
people. But being out there, it's like, you know, being somewhere where there are, like being from the East Coast, there's very few popular rappers from New England, very few people who made it out of that environment. I mean, it must just really stand out.
Yeah, it stands out, and it's but I stay away from the shit. Like I don't really like to be around like people, because it's easy to feel like the man where I'm from, because there's no one really doing it. So but I live in like a neighborhood that like no one knows about.
Okay.
But yeah, I stayed there. It definitely wasn't because I felt like the man there. Like I don't fuck with that energy. Like I left high school when I was becoming the man, just because it was like one day I was cool, one day I wasn't cool, and the next day I was. I just saw that I don't like that energy. So, but now it was for, it wasn't like I need to stay out here. It's just that I just didn't feel like ready to like be so far away from everything. I was like, it was like intimidating to me back then. Now it's just not.
Yeah. When I think about it, like leaving the house and like moving to New York when I was like 20, it's just like, fuck. Like I should have been more nervous about that than I was.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a
You know?
nervous fucking person. I don't know what it is, but I just know like at that age, I was just like, I looked at everything like it was bigger than me.
Right.
You know.
How much does your financial status mean to you? Because I feel like when I'm listening to you, I notice that you kind of come back to that a lot, either where like you're kind of amazed by the fact that you've been able to do so well for yourself, or you know, you might want to remind other people like, hey, I'm doing well for myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just blessed to have the fans I do that actually like, I sell more tickets than I should be able to. You know, I I have fans that really like buy and stream and stuff, and I have a whole, you know, this is my first major label album or whatever, but like everything else is still mine. Like I'm just very lucky to have fans that support me in that way. So, and I don't come from that. Like my whole beginning was my parents fighting over money. Like that was like the beginning of shit. And I've always fucked with money. Like like me and my sister have taken the opposite approach, because like, no, this isn't like a negative thing, but like, you know, growing up in a family that like there were a lot of arguments about money. It's just interesting how that affects the kids.
I think about that all the time.
Because she's scared of money.
Yeah.
I like, you know, I was young, like feeling needing money, so I was doing shit that like I was getting in a lot of trouble, just being like 12, feeling like I had to rob, and feeling like I just like needed money for some reason, and I'm fucking 12, and I don't know, I would have gone, like if it wasn't for music, it sounds cliche, but like that's really why my parents are so supportive, because like shit, if it wasn't for music, bro, I'd be doing some other shit.
Yeah, definitely. And when I think about my childhood, it's like we fought because of the fact that we didn't have money. Like that was the number one source of conflict, is like just not having enough money for the things that we wanted, or, you know, having to deal with bills and stuff. I mean, that was clearly the main focal point of any kind of stress in the household. And when I think about it, I'm like, I wonder what the fuck my kids are gonna fucking beef with me over, because it's just gonna be way different.
Yeah, or that they might obsess over it, or they might hate it. They might like have some resentment towards it. Like when I started getting some shit, and I was just around a lot, like I felt like no one in my family recognized me. And like I remember my sister told me, like when she see me on tour and the way I was like acting, me and my sister have like good relationship now, but she was like, who the fuck is this kid? Like,
You were feeling yourself too much?
I was like, I don't know, like they both say that. Yeah, I was just like, it was just a lot for me, bro. Like it's funny because like I'm not the most famous person, but for the level I am, like I've just lived a lot in a short amount of time. And you know, like coming from the cloth of like, you know, Hop took me on tour, but I'm not like Hop in the sense of like I'm not so like, I don't, he's he's like he's not really like a rap. I don't know if I should say that, but like he doesn't live the rapper shit. You
Right.
know, like me. I just I've been through stages of like really wanting to have fun, like really wanted to like match the highs of my career with my personal life. So I've been through just like fucking around with different shit and like making mistakes and learning. And you know, my sister and shit, they've seen me in different stages and have been like, I just remember coming home from tour at times, seeing my mom and feeling like she doesn't even like recognize me. But now it's not like that. Now I feel like I've caught up with it.
It's weird when people come to see you when you're on tour or whatever, because that's literally an environment that has been created just to sort of embrace your fans. So your attitude while you're in that has to be kind of different because you have so much attention coming your way, whether it's from other artists or people backstage, et cetera. It's like I've been in that situation where there's somebody I know from high school or somebody I consider my real friend from back in the day, and they're around me like when we had the store on Melrose, and it's like I'm talking to them and I'm being cool, but then meanwhile I've got a different person asking for a selfie every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like it's really, really hard to act humble and act like, you know, just a regular person to somebody when you have fans or whatever just throwing all this attention at you. It's like, and then I've been looking at the person that I went to high school with thinking like, I hope they know enough to understand that I'm not being big-headed right now, but I'm actually just dealing with the amount of shit that's coming into me.
Yeah, you're speaking, I feel it, bro.
And it's hard for people to understand that until they've kind of been there or been around that enough, you know?
Yeah. And I was young, so, you know, it was, I didn't handle everything the most mature way, and I've always struggled with this shit, like the highs of the career, whether it be on tour or just moving, not even necessarily tour, just like moving around. You know, some of my lowest lows like happened right after my highest highs. I don't know if I'm just like that. Like there's just been moments that like will be like the most amazing moment of my life, and then I'll just go to my hotel room and like cry. And I don't even like know why. It's just like I'm coming down from something. It's like, and I just be so sad for some reason. So I didn't know how to handle that for a while. So I wanted to stay high, even if I wasn't surrounded by high shit. So that's when you get into other shit. That's when you start, you know, knowing that I'm so here, and then I know when I get back to my room, and if I'm alone in that room, I'ma cry. I'ma not, you know what I'm saying, but like I'ma feel low, like I'ma just like think about shit, and so I need someone in that room with me, you know what I'm saying, or I need to do something, you know.
No, definitely. You sound like you've had some substance issues over the years.
Nothing like crazy, but it's just been a ride because like it's just been a ride because like I like the idea of like getting fucked up when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13. I was like drinking when I was like literally like I started that shit when I was 10, 11, 12, 13. And then when I was 14 is when I started focusing more on music, and then I cared about working hard and shit. So I was like, I don't want to do anything. Like nothing can distract me from this shit. So I was sober, 100% sober until I was like 20 or like a 19, around that age, when she was like moving and stuff. So no, nothing crazy, but I've learned, and it's really what this album is about. The album is just about like living in extremes and like trying to find the balance. That's what like Pink is. But you know, I'm a very extreme person, and you know, I've always been that way. And like it's the same thing that have brought me here. Like I'm extreme with working hard and the music and same, you know, all that shit. But when I like something, it can be dangerous. And I grew up in a family of like similar shit, and so I can just like live in extremes, and it can be scary. But luckily, like over this last 2 years was like a story of extremes.
But that thing you're describing of like, you know, being on a high, you're around all these people who are sort of like boosting your self-esteem and stuff, and then all of a sudden you're by yourself in the hotel room and you're just bummed and you don't really understand why. That sounds to me like the circumstance that ends up with a lot of people starting to rely on drugs, because they just don't like going through the ups and downs. They want to like always be able to balance it out. So it's like, you know, you get home at the end of the night and you're still like hyped up, like you're taking Xanax to get down, and like you feel like shit in the morning, you're taking Adderall or God knows what to get hyped up for the day at hand. But yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know what you're like. I'm sure you've been through it. It's just hard to explain that if you haven't been through that high. Not to say like the high I've been through has been, you know, I can't even imagine what people like Juice and what people like that happens so quickly, and you're on this like I can't even imagine, bro. I couldn't have handled that. Like it's wild. So
there's been times where I was around him where I was just looking at it like, how the fuck is this actually your life? Like, and how are you 20? How are you 19? And this is what your day-to-day existence is. Like, how, like if I was 19 and I had all this shit thrown upon me, like what are the odds that I would have been able to hold it together? I mean, yeah, it's not something that the average person is equipped for by any means.
Yeah, and it's like I used to think that you can outsmart things. You know, I used to be like, I was too smart to be like addicted to something. I'm too smart. I'm way too, like my sister's too smart to, you know, and then you realize it's not about smarts. It's about feelings. It's about, same thing with the music. Like it's, you know, I might be smart or I feel I'm smart, but like when you feel that high and then you're just like stuck afterward, like you don't know what that is until you live it.
100%. So on this album, I noticed that you've kind of gone heavy, like you have a bunch of like features and stuff. Like is that something that you look at as like kind of the main thing that you can do to draw attention to particular songs, or where does that motivation come from?
I just like really wanted to work with artists that like I'm actually a fan of. Like the biggest thing with this project, like I know it's like my first time on a major, but it to me it wasn't like it's not the biggest thing to me was like people listening to it really get to know me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really about anything else. Like, that was the biggest thing. Just because I've changed so much. And I know that, like, millions of people have seen a younger version of me. So, deciding the features, it was just it was like, I only want to have people I'm fans of. Like, I don't, because in the past, when I was younger, like, I don't know, I would have done a feature. I didn't do many features, but, like, I would have done features if the fans wanted it. Now I don't really do shit for the fans. No disrespect, but like I don't feel like if you're a fan, you should want the artist to do shit for you. If you're a fan of an artist, you want them to make their art like how they want to make it. Like, you ever just like watch some shit and you're like, oh, there was a plan going into this. Like some viral video is like, oh, there was a plan. Like they thought about this. I don't fuck with that shit. Like I'll listen to artists who I just feel like make the shit they like, and that's what I'm really on for the first time with this album. I don't know, feature wise, like I'm just blessed that those people like really, I just feel like I'm blessed that those people gave me a shot, and it's just a statement of like, it is a statement because like a lot of those features, like they're not gonna do a feature for many people, and I think they gotta see the type of person I am. Like if they just saw like my old shit on the internet, they might have not done it, but I think once you like meet me or whatever, like hear the song or they'll know like this kid is like some different.
You know, in the podcasting world, I've heard it referred to as like audience capture, in the sense of like you have a podcast or like a news show or whatever, and you start to slowly realize like I've seen it happen with a bunch of different podcasters over the course of the pandemic, where they start to realize there's a big fucking appetite for their audience to hear stuff that basically like undermines vaccines or COVID or whatever. Like regardless of your opinion on that, whatever, they start to realize that's what their fucking audience wants to hear. All of a sudden they're doing 20 episodes in a row that are like the vaccine is bullshit, yada yada. It's just them falling in line with what's going to get them the most views in the short term. And I've heard you talk about that too, where it's like if you just did a lot of the lyrical miracle shit and just went as hard as you could lyrically, then that might please your fans in the short term, and also probably A, make you feel like you're not really doing what you're supposed to be doing as an artist, and B, probably close the door on new people finding out about you.
Yeah, it's just, I just gotta, and it's not like, if I was really truly that person who like looks at rap like a competition, I would be happy doing that. I just want to stay like what is actually like. There's no like I want more acceptance or there's none of that. Like sometimes that's what people think. Like it's not that. It's just like I feel uncomfortable doing that shit now. Like I just don't- it's just not the person I am. I feel that though. There's a lot of, you can tell when there's people who like do shit for the fans, do shit for the clicks, and like I know what it's like to do the viral shit. I know what it feels like.
And the fans are too smart. Like they see you doing a feature where they can just tell that you're trying to, do something to make it happen. The fans just know.
They
you read the
know.
comments, you're like, God damn.
Yeah, like if I wanted like some crazy streaming song, I would have got like this crazy streaming act, and the label could have probably made that happen. For this one, none of the features are really like I feel they're tasteful. They're all of them are people who don't do shit just to do it. Like for the most part, I think like
Right. For sure. I could basically tell, like, because my time spent working with Atlantic, though, they had multiple artists signed to the same division that are on your project.
Oh yeah.
So I can kind of like guess who your connect was for some of them.
Yeah. Well, they definitely helped out,
Yeah.
make the connection on some of them.
But okay, what was that decision like to sign to Atlantic, though? What was like? Did you feel like you'd kind of taken your career as far as you were going to take it as an
Hell
independent
no.
artist?
No. It was I've been getting like courted since day one, and I'm just lucky to have money not be the decider for me, because I've been making money. Like money is I'm just lucky, I guess. I got, so it wasn't my decision with Atlantic. It was really I felt like our goals lined up, and just a major in general was just like, I don't want to look back. I know the potential of me as an artist. Like I know where I come from, but I know like the person I am and the people around me. Like once you get to know me, you know the type of person I am. You know the type of potential I have. You see me in the studio and the shit I do, like you know, and I just didn't want to. I could have done the independent shit, and I could have made the money. I could have done the touring, and my tour would have got bigger, whatever. But to me, it's like I didn't want to look back and say, damn, I never even tried to do the major shit. So this is like my first run at it, and I don't even like really have an opinion. Like they've been great so far, but I don't really have an opinion. I'm like, what, like 5 days in after like
Right.
the major. So I just feel like I have the potential to be a big artist, and if I didn't feel like that, I probably would have stayed independent, because I can make a lot of money independently. But it's not about that for me. Like I just don't want to. That's just like where it just felt more natural to me.
It's kind of crazy that you managed to not sign all throughout the SoundCloud rapper takeover days, because it's like that around the time that Juice was coming out and Pump was coming out and all this shit, that's when I really started to see artists get crazy amounts of money that it would be hard for most rappers to turn down, like even if they wanted to be independent around that time.
Yeah, I also have like a really fire manager who like has put some perspective in me, that like knew some of my worth before I knew any of my worth, because like when labels wanted to like have pieces of like my old catalog, I wasn't making crazy money at that time. So I was like, they want to offer me what? Let's do it. And he's like, you're gonna see money. And now I'm like, oh my God, thank God I didn't do that shit, because it's like now, this app, like everything else, like Atlantic does not touch like every other song I've done. So those things come in, touring is just me. Like I'm just like, I'm lucky to have the fans, and I'm lucky to have given that perspective from him.
I was listening to an interview with this rapper Troy Ave the other day, who I just interviewed from New York, and he was talking about how like super early in his career T.I. tried to sign him, but the signing bonus was like, compared to, he already was selling records in the streets. This is probably before streaming, whatever. He probably was bringing in a decent amount of money. The amount of money he was going to get for the signing bonus from T.I. just wasn't that significant to him.
Right.
And he didn't sign. Now he looks back at it and he can see how maybe he should have taken the short-term compromise to be affiliated with an artist that big. But at the same time, I'm looking at it and thinking like, bro, how many artists have we seen signed to big rappers and nothing happened? I mean, it's never a sure thing.
Yeah, it's definitely not a sure thing, but sometimes it happens. And yeah, like I could have got more money somewhere else. But it just wasn't about that. And that's just like, I don't know. I'm just lucky. It's crazy.
Definitely. Was it weird for you in particular back in the day to have you're so young and then you have all like these YouTubers and shit who are just all of a sudden making videos about you, and it seemed like they took a real interest in you and sort of wanting to narrate all these different things that were happening in your career. Was that a strange thing to go through as well, because you're kind of an early era rapper in that regard?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that weird. Like I always felt, this is gonna sound narcissistic, I guess, but I've always been a leader, and I've always knew I was different. That's where like the name Token comes from. Like I've just always felt like I didn't fit in. At first, like the beginning of my life, it was like a really negative thing, like feeling like I didn't fit in. I'm mad different. But then it turned into a good thing because it brought me to music. So when people talk about me, I never really get surprised because I'm like, I just feel like people should, I guess, or people. So not necessarily should, but like it just doesn't shock me. Even like locally, like when I hear shit about myself, I never get like, or like lies about me and a girl or like whatever. When I hear shit, I'm just like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, I don't know. So that shit never like, no, it never really like bothered me. What would bother me if it was like not true, I guess.
Right.
But even that, it's like, I understand like people gonna run with, you know how much untrue shit I see about myself? I mean, I feel like, you know, there's a lot of people who think I'm something I'm not, and it's all good because it just over time, and I think with my music as it continues to progress and shit, people will have a better understanding of like who I am and what I actually come from and what I've actually been through.
But it's got to be kind of tempting because part of you probably wants to like be part of that conversation and want to just respond to people who have something to say about you and shit, right? But I feel like as an artist, that's kind of frowned upon.
I'm just like inspired by, you know, I just think, call me like, I don't know, old fashioned, whatever, but I just think give music and time and it'll do that difference. Like I'm really like the most inspired by like Tyler and Mac and Cardi and like Ye and these people who just like continue to change, and like you think you have your mind made up about them. Like when Ye was doing some shit, people thought they had their mind made up. When Tyler represented something damn near the opposite of what he does, or like Mac was a frat rapper, people call him that shit, you thought you had your mind made up, but shit is not cool until it's cool. Right. And that's just like, I don't know, that's just like the philosophy I go through, that as long as I'm honest and I'm honest with myself, and I don't like try to rewrite history or recreate history, and I just continue to be myself, I think it'll all fall into place.
It's crazy because those are all artists who basically have the license to do whatever the fuck they want, and their fans are going to follow them. Their fans have followed them between genres over and over and over, and still somehow they've managed to like survive. For some reason I'm referencing another episode of Academics' podcast here, but I was watching one they did with Fetty Wap, and Fetty Wap was talking about how he had the Drake feature for one of his records and he didn't put it on his album.
I seen that.
And he basically, like, as I'm watching him talk about it, I'm realizing like he thought he was Drake. Like he thought he was a fucking Kendrick Lamar. He thought he was a superstar who could really just do whatever the fuck he wanted and it would work out fine. And then over the years he's been humbled and sort of realized like, oh, actually I should have probably put the Drake feature on my album. I probably should have just been a bit more irrational about it. But it's kind of, if you think back to that time period in Fetty Wap's career, it's kind of understandable that he thought that he could do no wrong.
Yeah, he was the one. And I just think, you know, not everybody is like constantly evolving just as a person. Like some people are like, they are the person they are, but you can tell like the artists I mentioned, like Cardi, dude, if Cardi like released, like I'm like a huge Cardi fan, but if Cardi like had dropped some of the like the leaks, you know, that are just like given hits, like he could have done that as album, like people would have like loved that album like more from the jump. I mean, I love that album, but you know, I don't know him, but like it just seems like he went with his heart, like he did what felt natural to him. Like I'm sure the label was like pissed at Mac at one point when he comes out with a drugged out album after he was like a pretty in like the college, you know, like, you know, sometimes you gotta take risks. Like I'm really inspired by that, especially Ye and shit. Like I'm really inspired by that, and I might take a risk. Like I might with this album, like I already know there's people who expected something different, but I'm seeing shit on the other side, and that just feels so much. It feels so much better, you know, when it's just some authentic shit, when it's some real, it's the truth, and one person says something about it. Because like I've gotten viral, I've done some crazy shit, like numbers wise, some shit that didn't feel like so authentic to me. And when it goes crazy, it doesn't really like feel as good as you think it did. For me, like shit feels good when I know it's like actually me.
Yeah. Whole Lotta Red is probably like the album that has made me feel old more than any other album.
Yo,
I just don't really get what the fuck people are listening to it for.
That's so funny because someone just said that, but listen, I said this to this dude, but power to you to admit it, because there's nothing worse than like someone who doesn't get it but acts like I understand what he's trying to do there. Like, oh, the distortion is actually kind of cool. Like, you know,
I'm not mad at the kids at all for liking it. You know, it's just like over the years, I've always like looked at rap, even the shit that I didn't like, and was still like, oh, okay, like I see what's going on. I find this interesting. I'm really fascinated by this. The Whole Lotta Red thing really made me feel like more of an old man, because it was like, oh, I don't like this, and it kind of pisses me off.
Oh, wow.
Which is a different place to be in as a rap commentator.
I listened like right when the album came out. I was with my girl.
It was Christmas.
Was it Christmas? I don't even remember.
I think it was basically Christmas.
I was with my girl, and we were just, I think I was drinking, I don't know, but I was just like, this is the best shit I've ever heard in my life. I was like, and I had it solely on repeat. That shit changed. That shit like, man.
I've seen it, people. I've seen Lil House Phone jumping out his fucking skin when it came on.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, I've been going to underground rap shows with you for almost like 10 years, and I haven't seen you really react to much shit as much as you are into this.
I straight up, like, when I was younger, I like knew I could feel like other perspectives more. Like I felt like what type of people would like my more like rapping tracks and shit. And at this point, I don't even know what people like. Like I don't even like think about it. And like when I heard Whole Lotta Red, I was like, obviously this is mad good, but mad people don't like it. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. It's to each his own, I guess.
But what do you think would happen if you made a project that was just completely out of left field? Like, because we've seen a bunch of artists do that. You mentioned Tyler. X stands out to me as somebody who like had one rap style and then just like gets signed and puts out a project and it's nothing like the shit that he got signed for.
Right.
Like, is there like a little part of you that wants to do that, or do you feel like your style of progressing your music is sort of like incrementally changing things?
I think like that's more realistic what you're saying, but like you never know. Like, I'm working on just like different projects, like different people's projects, and just getting inspired by different things, and maybe I'll like overhear some shit that'll like completely change. I don't know, some of my fans, like my old fans, look at this project like it's that, and it's like, bro, they just don't know music. Like they just like know that world, and just a small group of them, but maybe one day, I don't know, like I wouldn't like plan it. I would have to like really feel that way, you know.
Right. It would just kind of have to happen over time.
Yeah.
You know, is it weird, because I feel like as a white rapper, I've heard so many people act like, oh, it's so easy to blow up as a white rapper. And there are some examples of which I could point to somebody and say like, well, that guy kind of blew up and he's really nothing special. But for the most part, I feel like sometimes it's like there's a little bit of that, but then there's also like the standard is like higher. Like, have you felt like in your career people were kind of looking at you differently because of that? Like you were supposed to be huge because of the fact you were white, or like what is your thoughts on your race and whatnot?
It depends how you look at it, but there's definitely a privilege that comes with it. Like, you know, some people would say the opposite. I've seen comments like, oh, people don't even give him a chance but to be honest, like, you know, I look at, like, I got like a huge fan base in like Europe and different places around the world, and seeing how many people I can like bring out there, I wonder like, would these people like me if I didn't look like them? You know, like, would I be as talked about if I didn't stand out just naturally? You know, and I think there's absolutely truth to that. Like, it's weird how big I got in Europe. It's weird. And, you know, like, I just think it's important. I just think it comes with a responsibility to, like, be aware that this shit wasn't made for me. You know, like, you know, I've like said guest and then people get mad, but it's like that's really how I feel, and I just think it just comes with a responsibility to know the history and just not try to be something I'm not. You know, like I think that's where maybe people like have gone wrong. Like they just try to be they try to represent something that isn't actually them. But yeah, man, I've like people don't act like that's a real thing, but I absolutely think that's a real thing. Like I don't know if I'd be where I am.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
actually, I pretty much know I wouldn't be.
Well, it would be different at the very least.
It'd be different. I'd probably like different people would listen to me and stuff, but like for some things, I don't think I would be.
But I mean, it's got to go both ways because it's like, you know, I'm sure Pooh Shiesty has a lot of black fans. If Pooh Shiesty was white, I bet a lot of those people would not be nearly as interested in him because, you know, they see something of themselves in him. They relate to him. It's like, I notice that all the time. Like my kid, my 1-year-old, if there's a fucking baby or like a little kid on the TV, she's staring at it because she relates to it,
That's
you know?
funny.
And it's like people just relate. Like there's a reason why.
If you see themselves in
if
it.
you go to a Cardi B concert, there's going to be a shitload of women there.
Yeah.
Because they see themselves in her. Of course they would. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
in a
there's
way, it's not surprising at all. But
yeah,
it's
there's
just
definitely truth. But
yeah.
then you look at like some of these rap shows and it's just like a bunch of white kids and it's just like, what do you see? Like you look at a Cardi concert and how many like white kids are there. And it's like, are they trying to see themselves in? I don't know. It just depends. But I definitely think that there's like, I guess like some people are more like hesitant to, but I also haven't helped myself. Like I also like, I come from a different place. Like I came from more of like a YouTube shit when I was younger. So I don't really know how to call it because like maybe it's that or maybe it's because I was rapping about out rapping people and that's not really tight, you know? So who knows, you know? I don't really know.
No, yeah, definitely. But I mean, I've heard people try to use like Jack Harlow as an example to me of white privilege. And I'm like, bro, Jack Harlow is a cool ass white boy. Like regardless of him being white, that is a cool, smooth ass dude who makes really good music and is really good at rapping. I don't really like is his massive popularity maybe in part because of the fact that a 12-year-old white girl is going to look at him like he's a sex symbol and maybe she wouldn't if he was black. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, he came correct. Like he's got a lot of the parts in place.
Yeah, I had someone recently like explain me. They were like, "Who is Token?" And they were like picture like Jack Harlow, but way more sad and like and like not as popular in high school. And I'm like, maybe, but yeah, I fuck with Jack. But yeah, what you said, I think it plays a role, and I think he knows that. I think he's like aware of that for sure.
That is the weird thing about him is that he's like seems smart enough and with it enough and conscious enough to get exactly that he's been helped by.
Yeah, he's just not. He just
Yeah.
doesn't. I never met him, but he just doesn't seem like a goofy. He just doesn't seem like he's trying to get something off of like the culture. Like he just doesn't seem like he's trying. He seems like he's being himself, and he's not a goofball.
Definitely. Totally different style of question, but have you been in a relationship for the past few years or how long have you been in a relationship? What's that been like throughout your career? Because it seems like sometimes I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh, he's in love. And sometimes I'm listening to music and I'm like, oh, he's like a sex addict. Like he's talking about having threesomes and shit left and right.
Right now I'm in a relationship. Yeah. This is like my second relationship. Like the first relationship, I've been through like a bunch of just like mistakes and like, you know, not to like just down that person, but you know, like yeah, like a lot of weird shit. And you know, that breakup was like a big turning point in me because it was the first time where, you know, like that person was like part of my life, and I'm like kind of like a lover, in the sense of like I like when someone makes me feel human. Not many things like make me feel human, and like girls can do that for me. So that like breakup, that is what like sparked this album. That's what like really sparked the red side and the white side. The red side being like this like wanting to have fun and shit, fast shit, and the white side being like the white flag side, like just like feeling like wanting to give up and shit. but yeah, I've been in this relationship. You know, she was just really there for me, like, for the breakup when I wasn't ready. And she had been turning me down for years and shit. So she's not on no goofy shit. Like, I was lit and she was turning me down. So she just, you know, we were just friends and she was there for me. And then when I was ready, like, it just began. And she's like the first one that, you know, I've been with girls that, like, I was about to say maybe you dealt with this, but I know you've been with your girl for a while.
5 years.
Okay. But
That being said, we fuck
congrats, by
girls
the way.
together all the time, so it's a little different.
Nice. But I just
For
been,
OnlyFans, not for fun.
I just
Sometimes it's fun.
I don't know. I've been with girls that, like, have been really into, like, my career and shit, like,
Yeah.
or really into, like, the money or whatever. And then I've been with girls who would be like scared of it, like, too much for them. Like, my ex, like, she would tell me she wished Token didn't exist. She wished she didn't have to share me with people. You know, she wished I didn't have to focus so much on something. And this girl is, like, the only girl that, like, she's not scared of it and she's not obsessed with it. She's just, like, chilling,
Right.
you know,
It's-
which is, like, I'm young, but, like, I've been with a good amount of girls and, like, I've never experienced that neutrality, if that's the word, as much as I am now.
Yeah, an ideal relationship is going to make you feel more normal in that environment, I think.
Yeah. She just makes me feel, like, understood and, like, you know, it's hard for people around me to look at me like normal. And it's not only just because of, like, success or money or whatever, just, like, the person I am. It's like I'm always, like, some shit is going on in my life and I'm talking about some shit, I'm going in about some shit. So it's like I know what I'm going into when I step in Token's crib type shit. And I just feel that energy. Like, sometimes I feel like, like, I fuck with you, but you don't look at me like I'm you. You look at me like some different. So this girl, like, you know, I just think, like, she looks at me like a human and she helps me feel human. That's, like, the biggest thing. Like, I can just talk to her and feel like I am a human. You know?
It's nice to feel normal.
Yeah.
Like, my girl has been, like, through the pandemic and everything, my girl has just not seen me on some famous shit in a long ass time. And we went out.
How does that feel?
We went out the other day and there was hella people asking to take photos and shit. And I was just, like, realizing, like, she hasn't seen this in years. Like, she hasn't really, she hears me say, like, oh, I went out in public the other day and this happened, but she doesn't get to see it face to face. And I would say it's more of an annoyance to her at this point. It doesn't, just because it's like she's so used to, like, having to rely on me to be doing dad stuff and shit. So it's like, for me to be doing some other shit in front of her, it's like, it definitely doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, but it might be a little reminder, like, he is that guy. For me,
I told her that. I'm like, hey, next time you're mad at me, just remember.
Just
like,
remember
10
this
10 little kids want to take a photo with me. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, my girl, you know, it began through, like, the pandemic and shit. So she's only seen local shit where it's like we go out to her, and I don't even like to go out that much. So she's only seen, like, she knows, like, we're from, like, the same town. So, like, she knows how people, like, you know, like, look at me. And then if we go out, like, she'll see that. But she's never seen me, like, on tour or, like, when it's, like, because that's when it's the craziest. That's when it's just, like, hundreds of kids doing meet and greets. And
you don't have anything normal. Like, you don't get to go home to your house and feel like a normal person after. It's like, you go back to the hotel or whatever. But for the most part, it's just you're in this weird vortex of ego that you need to learn to control.
Vortex of ego.
You know?
Yeah.
And the longer you're on the road, the harder it is. You know, if you're gone for 2 months, it's like, then you get really detached from who you were and what you're like as a normal person sitting on the fucking couch, you know?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, even being out here, like, this trip, it just began, but it's been a trip. It's like some shit has gone down that's just, like, I don't know, just, like, goal, like, just dream type shit. And even, like, now it's like it's hard for me to it's just hard for me to focus on something else. Like, I'm on, like, a high, I guess, right now, but I don't feel like I feel healthy and shit. But it's just, but I can see, like, it's hard to just have a conversation about. My roommate is, like, she didn't do that. It's like I can't have that conversation right now. I'm thinking about this crazy, like no disrespect. Like it's not. It's just like I can't. My brain doesn't fit it.
But the main thing that I always drew it back to is like when you're at home, you're seeing the same shit every day. Like you're noticing. You see the same chick at the coffee shop every day, and you're like, saying hi, and you get to notice the little differences in that experience. Whereas when you're on the road, you're eating dinner at a different spot every night. You're in a different venue every day. You're looking at a different row full of fans in the front every day. The meet and greet is different, or if you do that every day, it's like everything is just new, and your brain gets used to not having to like work to find like new things to pay attention to.
Right.
Whereas like if you're and that's why it can be hard to relate to people, because if you're talking to your girl and she goes to the same job every day, it's just she gets like to care about the details. Like when you're on the road, you don't get to care about the details because the details are constantly changing.
Yeah, and she'll notice the smaller things. She'll notice you haven't texted me in 3 days, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like I don't even realize, but that I don't think that means like less love. It's just like it's so, and I'm like really trying to like make dreams come true, and like this part of my life right now, this time is just crazy. Like, as this new music is coming out, people are like starting to like see who I really am. It's just been crazy. I've just gotten like opportunities I've always dreamed about, like just in this short trip. And it's like, I'm sorry if like I can't focus on something different. Like,
yeah. When you're on the road and they think that you're going to remember something. They're like, well,
Yeah,
you said this 2 days ago. It's like, you think I remember what the fuck I said 2 days
thank
ago?
you for
Like,
saying that.
I'm in a vortex right now. You got to understand.
Yeah, I don't remember shit. Like, I don't remember like where people work, like where I don't remember shit. But I say this, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, that it doesn't have to do with love. Like, it's impossible for me to retain all of it. Yeah. And that can start like arguments and in the past, like, I was with a girl who took things personally, took lyrics personally. Like, I'm a very like blunt writer, and shit just isn't. I just don't like it if it's not really like true. And she just really got hurt by my songs, like, this one, I shouldn't say this one, but she won't get hurt unless like, I mean, she might and not voice it. I just need to show her the things. Like there was one song off this album that I said some shit and I didn't show her it. So like there's all these comments and stuff, and she's like, you should have shown me this song because you said this. Like, and that was just me not being a man, me running from it because I knew it was gonna hurt her, rather than being like, look, I said this is what I was going through at that point, like being straight about it, because that's a whole part of my life. I'm very like honest in the lyrics, so it's tough for some people around me, but I just gotta be transparent around it. There's some people who like been understood it, like, my dad, he's a writer too, so like, and he just knows, and my mom my family doesn't have any other choice, because like they knew what my life would be without music. They knew what I was destined to be, like,
right,
just for the shit I was getting in trouble for. So they're just happy I'm focused on something different.
You gotta just constantly tell your girl, like, I'm a rapper. I gotta
don't
rap.
know if
I
that
gotta
really
rap.
does
Like
it.
I gotta do these things. Like otherwise, I won't be able to be a rapper. My girl told me that in the early part of our relationship, she used to always repeat to herself, "He's just trying to make the fans laugh. He's just trying to make the fans laugh."
Yeah, you have you probably have it harder, because like I'm actually like, I'm honest.
Yeah.
Like I'm, some of this shit is like that I say is like, not saying you're not honest, but like she hears these lyrics and then she's like, oh damn, like it's not about impressing fans. Like I say whack shit about myself a lot.
Yeah.
I say some fuck shit that I do, and it's not to be like, yeah, guys, I'm on some fuck shit. Like, that's not tight.
But
like,
it's different because if you're Lil Baby and you're just saying some fly shit, if you're saying I fucked 7 girls last night, it's like, that sounds like flexing. Like anyone could understand that might be a lie. So it's like if his girl got mad about that, he could say, babe, I'm just a rapper. I'm just saying rapper shit.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a podcaster, but it's like I'm kind of supposed to be funny. So it's like I can always get away with it being a joke. You're just airing your ass out for no reason other than just like, this feels right for me to be transparent when I'm making music,
and it's not like most of the time it's not brag. It's not meant to be a brag, especially like the sad songs where it's like clear. It's not meant to be a brag. But it just makes me feel, I guess, like more. It's off my chest. I feel less like heavy.
Definitely. What is your current thought process on J. Cole? Because I saw that you did that one song for him a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and it felt like you. I was like, damn, he's like putting on like a lyrical clinic for J. Cole right here.
What the hell? No. That was just like in between albums.
Okay, you're just having fun.
I was just having fun and just trying to like, I just knew what I was doing. Like I didn't have like a single to release or some shit, and I knew like there was gonna be a certain group that like loves this and a certain group that is just like gonna get annoyed by this. I was just trying to literally stir shit up, but I am a big Cole fan, and yeah, I got Dreamville Acts on my last one, last project. Jid is on this one, but yeah, it was never meant to like do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have like, obviously they're competent artists and stuff, but like when I see you doing like features with Tech Nine and shit a couple of years ago, do you feel like that's the kind of thing you need to avoid at this point, because that's going to just put you in more of a like lyrical rapper category that maybe you kind of are trying to get past that tagline being associated with you?
I just feel like I should make songs with people who I like,
And you don't like Tech Nine?
And that's not what I'm saying, but
Just kidding.
Yeah.
And we've had Tech Nine on before, so
Shout
he's
out
a friend
Tech.
of the show.
Yeah, I love Tech, but it's not really about avoiding. It's really about just doing shit that like I used to like do some shit that I didn't really like doing. Like, I don't know, I did like TikTok shit that like I didn't like doing because
We all do.
Yeah. Now it's like, I just feel like the most important thing for me is just to like be myself and be authentic, and like some people would tell me, yeah, like I could, like if I wanted to like go more crazy on YouTube and shit. It's like right now, like my YouTube numbers are like down, but my streaming is up. And that's just like, it makes so much sense. It's just like, cause a lot of the people who like me on YouTube, like they like me for that shit, and I'm totally cool with that. But now like I make like good songs now. Not to like talk shit to the fans that like my own music, but like, it's a different level now and you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain artists who really like are YouTube rappers where it's like you need the visual in order to like get the impact of the music. You see that a bunch. And then, yeah, there's definitely a lot of artists who go crazy on streaming, and then their YouTube wouldn't really make you think that they're like a huge artist.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, maybe some of those people, like, that's just who they are, and they just, like, should keep doing that, and that's where they're supposed to exist. I just know, like, it's not where I'm supposed to exist. It's probably, like, maybe, like, when Mac was, like, kept doing college shows, and he's like, bruh, like, I play the guitar, too. Like, I'm trying to, like, make real music. I don't want to do these college shows anymore, and maybe... maybe he made less money, stopped doing, it's like the same shit. That's how I look at it.
How much do you care about money, though, at this point in your career? Like, do you have enough that it doesn't really change your decisions that much?
It really doesn't. Like, it really, it doesn't. And I'm lucky to say that, I guess, but and maybe that'll change. Like, I don't know. This is how I'm feeling today. And I tend to change a lot. But right now, I feel like I've made enough, and I've lived in like a big enough house, and I've like had enough nice shit to know that like it just doesn't really make me, don't get me wrong, like parts of it that I don't have to worry about that shit, like it makes me happy. It makes me happy that I can eat whatever the fuck I want. I can buy, clothes and shit that makes me feel comfortable, but and that's nice, but it just doesn't like it just doesn't last that long. Like the happiness I'm getting from just the short amount of days of this album being out, and finally I feel like people are like seeing me better for who I am. That shit, it sounds cliche. It probably sounds like I'm lying, but I'm not. It makes me happier.
But the people who accuse you of just doing stuff for money a lot of times are deeply confused about what makes you money.
Those people are fucking idiots.
I'll have people on my ass about like, you just uploaded this clip for money, and it's like,
they're just poor.
You're talking about like $50 worth of YouTube ads.
Bro, people, what I get, what people say, like, they're like, the stupidest shit. Like, you're doing this for the money. You're doing this for the label. It's like, bro, the label doesn't want this.
Yeah.
The label doesn't want me to do some, like, no disrespect to Atlantic, but like, I don't think they really care about artsy shit.
Right.
You know, I'm pretty art. Like, if you listen to my album, it's not that I'm the most, but you know, like I care more about that. And they're like, oh, he's rapping about money because the label took. People are just idiots, bro. They got no idea. They think like some Illuminati shit. They think some fucking. They think I'm posting my. People just. You can tell people are losers. Like, I post my girl, and people are like, oh, you said you wouldn't post. Your girl's making you post. Like, my girl doesn't give a fuck if I post her. Like.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, she's pretty, so people are like, be careful. It's like, damn, bro, you must have never had a pretty girl in your life, because they're not all trying to get you. Like, just because she's pretty, it doesn't mean she's like a gold digger.
Yeah, it's like you expect like underground rap fans to not treat their favorite rapper like a fucking Kardashian, but then they basically end up doing like exactly the same thing.
They probably do it worse, because they become so like, they have this idea in their head that's so incorrect, and it's like, yeah, it's so crazy. Like, if I wanted to make more, it's like, you signed for the money. I'd be richer if I didn't sign. I didn't sign for the money. Like, if I had released like all my shit independently, I would have more money. Like, I didn't, you know. But people are just like, people say the craziest shit, bro. But it's just like, there's certain just like groups of weirdos. Like, you saying like, be careful for that girl, just as saying, I have never had a bad bitch.
Yeah.
Because that pretty girl's intimidating me. Be careful, she's scary. Like,
and a lot of times it's like, if I read something particularly stupid, I just try to remind myself, like, they're probably still in high school. They're probably like 11 and they're commenting this, so. You know,
I can imagine.
Should put too much thought into it. Yeah.
Or maybe that's for you, but my stupidest comments are from like the old motherfuckers who think like they want rap brought back, and they were like, you were supposed to bring hip hop back, and they're just white and they're just like 50.
Wow.
And it's like, bro, like they just like are so not tapped in, and it's like those are like, and they're still stuck. They still listen to just the same, and I was supposed to bring back hip hop.
That's the power of music, though, too, is that like people will find a fucking artist they like and expect that artist to fulfill their wildest dreams of what music is supposed to be like.
Yeah, it's and I can see how it's possible to get caught up in it and like listen to these people, like, but you just gotta understand that like most people, like I used to take it serious, but now I just look at it like a joke, because it's just like, you gotta understand, bro. Most people are stupid. Like I have gotten, and that's not meant to call my fans stupid or anything, but like there's a lot of just, they don't get it. They just don't, you know, if you're from the East Coast or the West Coast, like I spend like time in New York, and I'm just from Boston. I'm from like, you know, like a liberal, you know, I'm just like from that shit. When you travel and you see all these places in like middle America, or like these places in, you know, random place in like Canada, like small, like random shit, or like Europe, or you see how big, and it's like me traveling like middle America, it wasn't a shock that like Trump is the president. Most people like went, like when that happened, people like, how the fuck? It's like, bro, I've been in middle America. Like, that's a lot of people, bro. Yeah. They still think like that. Like, so, you know, I'm just aware that like people are stupid.
Yeah. And it just like that, you can't really take anyone's opinion too seriously, you know, like, and certain really big artists give off that vibe, and their fans kind of like act accordingly. Like if Cardi does something, you're never going to find out what he thinks about your opinion. Yeah. You know, like he's just never going to respond to anyone. He's had huge controversies that he didn't respond to. Yeah. And you could say that about anyone. I mean, Kendrick Lamar is the most extreme example of it. You know, he dips off, doesn't put out an album for 4 years. People talk about him every day on Twitter, and it's like he's apparently never been tempted to jump in there and correct anybody or anything. And you got to kind of respect that, even though most of us are mere mortals who don't really get that privilege.
Yeah. I don't really correct people, but I troll them, and because I just, at this point, I used to, I think, like, maybe bother me more, but I've also, like, have received, like, hate comments or whatever since I was, like, 14, like, or 13. So it's like at some point, and then your life just keeps getting better, and then you still see more hate comments, and then you just realize that doesn't actually mean anything, and you also realize that the hate just speaks so much louder than the love. Like I was just talking about it, that it's just like when you love something and you see a comment that someone also loves it, you don't necessarily like it. You're like, oh yeah, he loves it too. But when you see a hate comment, like you did this and you agree with that, that's what you like. So sometimes those comments just go to the top, and they, it just looks like it's all hate. But if you scroll down, it's like 90% love. It's just people just attach themselves to the hate, I guess, more.
Yeah, I mean, if you put out a video and it got 1 million views and it had 10,000 dislikes, that might like really stand out to you. It was like, holy shit, that's a lot of fucking dislikes. Maybe they really didn't like this one. But at the same time, I mean, you got 990,000 people who watched it and apparently liked it enough to not dislike it or whatever. It's just like, it's kind of hard to put that into perspective, because it's like, if you had 100 people outside your house screaming at you, it would feel like the biggest deal in the world. Like, you gotta call the cops, you gotta go get a gun, you gotta do something about it. But if you have 100 people screaming at you on Twitter, you gotta just learn to be like, oh, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it's just not that deep. And like people say whatever. Like I like never got like hate on the street or anything like that. Like,
and most people who have been like absolutely destroyed on Twitter or whatever would say the same thing, that they never really have encountered that in real life. It's just an online thing.
It definitely doesn't happen in real life. But I just think the better approach, like for me, sometimes I just be trolling, because I know people are gonna like attach themselves to like some narrative, like some Illuminati, I just troll them sometimes.
Respect. You gotta troll. Tell the people why they should fuck with this new project.
Why they should fuck with it? I just think it's good music. It's really honest. I think it's, it's just like a story about these last 2 years of my life, and I think it's a unique story, and I think there's some fire songs in there. So yeah, I think it's different from what some people would expect. So
definitely,
I think they should give it a shot.
For sure. And I have to send a shout out to Blackie Speaks, because I DM'd him and I said, what do you want me to ask Token? Because I know you're a big fan.
What did he say?
He gave me a bunch of really good questions that we kind of ended up like covering them without having to try to cover them. But he just like hit me back like 2 minutes later with like 7 really, really well thought out questions. Because I thought of him because I saw Sway play the clip from him in your old interview. And I was just like, oh, like,
that's my guy.
That's
Yeah,
tight.
he.
When I was talking about YouTubers making videos about you, I was kind of talking about him.
Yeah, shout out to Blackie Speaks. He's killing it. Yeah. That's my guy.
That's been wild seeing him blow up over the years. But
yeah, have you was seeing him for a while?
Just watching his videos, but like sometimes there's certain people where you look at their subscriber count, you've been watching him for years, and you're like, oh shit, that guy got like 1 million fucking subscribers all of a sudden. That's sick.
And he like does his diligence. Like he kept certain narratives alive, I guess, and shit. Like he's funny. But yeah, he's always been supportive.
For sure. Token, appreciate you coming through, man.
Appreciate you having me, bro.
Everybody go check out his project. It's out now. It's fire. Covering new ground. Let's go. Token, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Patreon, all that shit. Like, comment, subscribe. NoJumper.com if you want to support. Appreciate y'all.